Okay, so arrange yourselves. Sit up straight and tall. Do your arranging to, stretch your spine. Wake up your shoulders. Maybe you need to stretch a bit first just to get some. If you've been seated up to this point, because it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe it'll work. So just make sure you get some circulation going. Flush a few of the channels out. I'm going to mute those who need muting. So this means if you have questions, you must make a signal and come up and unmute yourself. You can always ask a question, but I can't unmute you. Sit up straight. Shoulders back, shoulders down. Okay. So that's just the beginning. Really, the how shall I say? That's just the preparation. Is like put your arms and legs down. Put your tools down. Okay. Now let's get started. Anchor the spine into the ground and stretch it up. Keep these arms and legs, think of them as your tools, keep them at rest on the table, on the ground, and stretch your spine up. Your tools, these arms and legs, are extensions of your spine and brain. Everything these tools do, and that includes being sensors, because the skin, is, and the flesh is quite sensitive as sensors and also as doers, actors. Quite sensitive. So the inward and outward flow of action information always comes from this central column. So put these tools down and stretch that column up. Okay. Stretch the structural column up. The bones, muscles, ligaments, all arranged to support this brain, central nervous system, and the spinal cord that should literally float inside the core of that structure. And all of its pathways radiate out, not just to the arms and legs, but across the trunk to the organs, to all parts. Stretch the column up. Let the mind, brain rest. Let this breath connect to the entire core. So the pathways of the nerves become your instruments. join your palms. And keep that spine upright. Nerves released, all those passageways open. In this way, let us practice paying homage to the practice itself and all those teachers who have brought it to us, reaching back to Patanjali. Bow your head. Release your hands. Raise your head, open your eyes, and stretch your legs. Now, those, somebody, I don't know, let's see, don't know your name. Pratima, you need a long, where did I put it? A long rope strap. If you've got a long one, get one. Okay. All right, watch. Really, with the, you absolutely need more than 6 feet. Definitely more than 6 feet. But you probably don't need all 8 feet, 10 feet. Watch. This goes over, oh, beg pardon. If you are stiff in the spine, keep the height. If you are flexible, you can sit on the floor. Stretch your legs forward with your knees bent. And put this strap around your heels. Now, the buckle should be easily accessible to you, even as it tightens. Strap around the heels right where the ankle is. Okay. So you pull with your hands and you stretch your legs until there's some tension on the strap. Now, basic shape has this strap following your joints, right? Hip joint, lower sacrum, tailbone. And you, now, let me say something else. People with pelvic compressions or strong irregularities, this may feel wrong. If it is, you're out. But for most of you, even people with sacroiliac pains, it should feel good. See how I bent my knees? I tighten the strap, and when I straighten the leg again, it gives support to this sacrum. And if you want more, you just increase the tension. I mean, yeah, tighten it some more. There is a point where it's painful or impossible. Stay away from those. Now, I'm going to say this too. If you, that's a starting place, right? The joint line, basically. But you can also bring this up. You might say just halfway up the sacrum. See that? It just came up a little bit. And this may feel better. Now, I have a couple of people who have a lot of compression right at the top sacrum, bottom lumbar. So it is possible to bring this up to that place, right where you feel the two bumps of the sacroiliac joint, where you give direct support to the spine, not the sacrum. Different back problems appreciate the different layers. So you've got to pick. Okay. Are you okay? Is this a pleasant thing? Okay. Does it help you keep that spine upright? Here's a word of caution. Don't try to help the strap. Rest on the strap, right? Don't try to lift up. The strap can be a prop or a prompt, P-R-O-M-P-T. So at first, I don't want it to prompt your own action. I want it to prop up your sacrum so that your abdomen can rest against it. Take your arms up. Keep your sacrum resting. So there is this front to back rest. These buttocks go down. Wherever the belt is, there's still a downward sit. And the push goes to those heels. Now, lift your spine. Hand is here saying release, come up. Okay, and out. Okay, I hope that felt helpful. Okay. Stand up. Have a chair and a wall, probably. Now, you may not use the wall. I'm mainly interested, by the way, pad the top of the chair with a bit of sticky mat folded so it's soft. So your feet go outside the chair legs, right? Not inside the chair legs. See that? This is do not do. But your feet come in close so they touch. Now, the only exceptions are if you're quite tall, legs long. Otherwise, you come in to the chair. You're right there. Okay. So with the feet like that, also because of stiffness and whatnot, the feet could be further back or more vertical, but this front top thigh comes to that chair seat. Now you can push on the chair back and it keeps that chair seat quite firm against the thighs while you rest with straight arms, so use your bones there to give support. Don't watch the camera, let your spine lengthen. And use the inhalation and exhalation to connect with all of those passageways and organs in the trunk. The trunk is happily lengthened. Those with lumbar compression, make sure the back surface and front surface of that sacrum lumbar extend equally. If you're sensitive there, go slowly. Go principally with the breath. Keep the weight of the legs even. Now you can put your hands on the chair seat, go farther forward, but you have to keep that sense of the bar pressing the thigh back as you go forward and down. So you might walk down the front chair legs, keeping that sense of push on the back thigh that frees back and front spine. I'm looking for pelvic space in particular. Now, do as you will to relax. Just let the pose go. So if your head is uncomfortable on the chair seat, cross your arms or create some support that's not obnoxious, and let go for a bit. And then gather those legs, put your arms on the chair seat or that chair tubing, inhaling, come up. Make sure the weight is completely on the legs before you really lift your spine. Now, you can, of course, go farther than that using the wall, and we've done this before. This is my substitute for a rope wall. So you can take blankets or a bolster, and different size bolsters have different effects. But here's the strategy with your bolster. The strategy is to pad the front edge of the chair seat, but you don't want a big bulky height at the front edge. It should kind of support a long extension. So how far away from the wall you get depends on your height. So you push on the chair so it doesn't tip. Make sure it is on the top thighs, and you brace your feet on that wall. See how my feet come up the wall now? Feet apart. And I can push on the chair and lengthen my trunk and lay it down on the chair edge, and I just pull the bolster forward if I want that padding. If you are too much on the thigh, it's unpleasant. It's not to be unpleasant. It goes right into the root of the thigh. And your goal is not to smush your quad, but to release the pelvis. Always back to that kind of central, both, I mean, that physical and sort of in all ways, that very important thing, the spinal cord, spinal column, and the trunk, which carries all these essential communications, connections. So the whole foot should be on the wall, or at least enough to balance with. Okay, that looks like your feet are too high up the wall. They should be below hip height. Now, this is not as nice as a rope wall support unless you do pat it well. Inhale, come up, use the arms. Push on the chair, come out. Okay. Chair away. No, not chair away. Just props on the chair away. Just the chair. Now, we have to do a asymmetrical forward bend using what we have figured out here. Okay, so you're gonna come forward. Oh, I should say your chair should have the ability to extend forward. So if you either get rid of all or part of your sticky mat or arrange your room so you have some opportunity to go long, then stand there with the legs apart, 3.5, 4 feet. And you turn and stand up. So your first job is to open these front hips and put an even kind of band around that pelvis, an even band like you felt around the back pelvis shouldn't turn sideways, that you felt around the back pelvis in your seated pose. So both sides have to come forward. That means your back leg, front hip, is getting a deep stretch. Come up. I'm showing you from the side again. Come up as if from the spine. Come up the ribs, come up through this trunk, come up through the inner body. Okay. These arms stay released down. Now you come forward, and still that evenness of the sacrum band is there. Don't let go the front leg, right buttock. Don't let go the back leg buttock. Take your hands to the chair seat. Not an excuse now, hands on chair seat, to let go the legs or that sacrum. Now release the abdomen toward that band in your forward bend and then toward that front spine. Keep that sacrum supported, resting on your trunk forward, legs stretching toward that belt at the heels and toes. So any amount you choose to come forward with your trunk, pretty much in the horizontal at first, just lengthening. Keep those groins releasing toward the sacrum and up. Keep both sides of the sacrum supported by that imaginary strap. So there is firm weight on the legs, but broad space in the pelvis and trunk. Now start bringing the chair back or the hands back. Keep the legs working, keep outer hips, buttocks working, and to the hips, inhale, come on. Stand on 2 feet, Tadasana, 2 feet together, I should say, Samasthiti Tadasana. Then change sides. So first you arrange your stance, then you stand upright and face forward. And you can, in terms of, you know, what these arms are good for, they're sensors, but they're also, they do things. So not only do they feel what's happening, but they also give it instruction, like the strap. They push on this back leg buttock to reinforce it staying even with the front. And they push to encourage you to stand on those legs and stretch out to the heel. Connect this sacrum belt band to the heels, both heels. And especially the front leg is giving you instruction. That helps you open the pelvis, helps you rest that sacrum, rest that inner body, and lift the chest. You can really start taking a back bend if things start happening. Now you come forward, but that band across the sacrum has to keep anchoring you to your feet, back foot, front foot. Push into that front foot. We emphasize the back leg a lot, but front leg gives you lots of helpful information. Now release that inner body toward the sacrum and use your breath to extend through the pelvis, and you begin going forward. Keep pushing through the feet. Keep connecting the sacrum band to both feet so that groin and the inner body region can stay receiving, lengthening. Hips even. Make sure that your front leg hip is drawn back, back leg hip rolled forward. Now prepare to come up. Make both legs firm. The sacrum band, the belt band, anchored to both feet, rolling down. You come up, join feet, bring the feet together. Adho Mukha Svanasana, no chairs, just if you want a belt on the arms for support, feel free, no problem. But not this chair thing that we started with. Okay. Palms on the floor. Now, these are organs of action here, so send their action away from the skull. And that's both in nervous system and structural terms. Likewise through the legs. So the action is kind of felt from the sacrum band down to the heels, and the lift through the legs comes back up. Act like there's a strap running from your sacrum to your toes or whatever's on the floor. And make that strap well anchored through the hip sockets. So like raising the heels would lift you to that sacrum belt, and the sacrum belt would be allowed to kind of passively support, I mean, the sacrum passively supported by the belt recedes in. Everything settles. I hope you get this. It's a very powerful thing. Stretch your arms forward away from the skull. Keep the arms stretching straight. Now, release, come out. You can come to Uttanasana or you can kneel. It's your pick. Okay. Now, I want to do an upside down version of dog pose. So you would take your tippy toes right up close to the wall and kneel and stretch your arms forward. So the distance of your hands from the wall in this position is your own, right? And let me just say, if your hips are up in the air, your hands are going to be a lot more forward. So do take that into account and see if you can measure. Here's another way of doing it. If the body doesn't work that way so well, you measure leg length, but then you come out a bit from that. And that's almost where I put myself before. So that's pretty good. So you come up onto the hands and knees, raise those heels up, the hips up. Then the foot comes up the wall in such a way, if you can see this, my knees stay together. The toe is on the wall where it is with my knees together. If my knees are apart, foot's in the wrong place. Knees apart, foot's in the wrong place. Make the knees match, your foot will be in the right place. Look at the floor, go up. Keep your feet there, don't go higher. Now put that strap around the legs as you push the legs straight to the wall. From the back sacrum band, you push and lift. And then you step down when it's time. Now, if you don't do this because your arms won't manage it, then do a dog pose. Put that sacrum belt on. Push out through the heels from the strap so that that spine and inner body can lengthen. Yeah.
So we're not trying to have our hands right under our shoulders. We're not trying to be
No, they'll be slight ahead. It's more a beginner shape. Now, you want to go farther, by all means, take that right ankle. But I'm treating this like, well, you know, some of you can come out. Some of you have been up there for a little bit. When you like, you may rest. Okay, so now and you can also go up again when you've had a moment of rest. And rest, by the way, shouldn't be resting on your arms like this. It should be really a rest, like you drain that limb. Okay. Now, if you want to make things interesting, and it's just for fun, because I'm really after forward bends, you can do, I'm showing you measure again, leg length. This time, you need your elbow So you do the same pose. Wait, this has to come back, sorry. You come in closer and you do the same knee thing and you go up. So if this does not irritate those shoulders, try that one. Put a brick between your hands. If it works, keep those elbows closer together. Cliff feet way down. You didn't do the knee thing. Feet down, butt up. See how those hips come down. Don't let the hips down. Feet down. Hips up. You want to make a right angle. So let your knees bend, Cliff. This is what you do. You go up and you keep your knees bent. Once you find that place on the wall, do not change your feet. Leave your knees bent. You can move your toes away from the wall to get more upright. But do not move your feet. Okay. Press your palms, stretch your arms. It is more challenging to stretch those arms from the skull out. Feet too high, okay, lower that left foot, that's it. Okay. I'm about ready to move on. Okay. Are you all right? Okay. So in this beginner type class, we're going to call that the approach to headstand, and you get one more, I don't know, 2 minutes of more focused headstand action. Your skull does not have to go to the floor. You can have space and keep space between the skull and the floor, but the true action of this spine and spinal cord, right? Spinal column, spinal cord, is to extend. To extend. So when you're upside down, it is still extending from its root to its summit. So even though that head doesn't go to the floor, oh, and the limbs still extend away from that skull. Here, they're going toward the floor. Here, they're actually going toward the ground, away from the skull and toward the ground. That is not paradoxical. So with the head on the floor, away from the floor, you come up. Extend the spine. Extend the arms away from the skull. Right? That is your practice. Try that. Or do a brief headstand with the same strategy. And Vicky, watch your neck, that's all. Stretch your legs in the same fashion away from the skull. Lengthen the skull away from the pelvis. Keep the left and right corners of the pubis lifting, lengthening away from the skull as much as the two buttock bones. The breathability of the trunk is your guidepost. Come out carefully. Keep that neck, throat, head open. Don't let the actions of the arms or legs reverse. So you come out, you rest your head. Okay. Now, once you're rested, you sit up and you need blanket support. You might need a chair. You might need your bolster. So I'm saying this so you gather around you your 8-foot strap, any blankets you might need that would support your buttocks if you need them in a forward bend. And we're going to do a couple of forward bends. So you might need to make like a narrow folded blanket or two that give, or a bolster, and that gives you a wide support for the hips, and it also gives you a narrow support. You have some options. And you have your long strap. And maybe you've got a short strap too, a spare strap. And I'm going to say, if you have a super long strap, it's going to have an extra tail. And if the tail is long enough, you can use it for your hands. So if you've got a very long strap, the tail, usually you want 2 straps. So look, we're going to do Dandasana. Then the right leg will bend. And this strap, the way we had it in the class at first, sets up just around the one leg. Now make sure that buckle is toward your hips where it is easy to get at to make adjustments. And then when you stretch the leg, be very observant of the stability across the back pelvis. Right knee bent, left leg straight. So again, this is a prop, not a prompt. P-R-O-P. So you want it to be firm enough. I'm showing tightening as needed. Doesn't have to infinitely tighten, but it tightens enough that when your leg is straight, you can rest those bones. Not working, Cliff, or is the strap messy? Now move this leg. If your strap is tight, it won't go far, but still move it outward to the left. Aim for space. Come on out, bend. Stretch both legs. And if you want, you can go back to this 2-legged pose, but I think it'll be tight because it was around 1. Might work. Then bend the left knee. maybe you can just stay in that strap. Keep the buckle handy. That looks better, Cliff. Not prompted. Take that support. Stretch with your leg out to your heel. Stretch that leg out so that this front spine has room and can come up. So if you really can take that support, it remains breathable. And come on, stretch both legs. Now, did I mention that this support can be at the bones of which is low down on the sacrum, almost, or actually in line with the tailbone. It can also be about half-inch higher, and it can support above the tailbone sacrum. If you look at a skeleton, it's sort of around the narrow part of the pelvic bones. And then third place is top pelvis, right at the bottom of the lumbars. So again, you may be experimental with these things, with these places, because one is going to feel good. Okay. Staying in here, remembering that the limb comes away from the skull and reaches out to the heel. And the arm releases away from the skull, reaches out to the fingers. So when the arms come up, keep the spine long. Keep the movement extending outward from the brain and spine. Abdomen in, front spine up. Legs reach to the feet. Exhale, come out. Take that strap off. Now use blankets if you need a different form of support, as high as you may need. One blanket, two blankets, you just arrange. We're going to do the very same pose. I should go sideways so you see. So I think everybody should take some support. It is quite difficult to bring this whole sacrum plate so it helps you stretch that leg out. But that's how it is. Imagine that strap is supported so it doesn't fall back as you release the abdomen. There is no falling back. It comes forward and up. And that abdomen releases in and up, and the legs don't retract, they keep stretching. Likewise, the arms. Now, bend the right knee. There'll be this moment of distraction while you're bending the knee. Now, you can bring the heel to against the inner thigh, or you can release it out further in the more open or more, whatever suits your hips there. But whatever it is, go back to that belt. Stretch it out through the extending straight leg. It's more complicated to extend through the bent leg, but still this buttock has to soften. And still this bent leg side of the sacrum has to come in. So you remember that strap. Widen your straight leg to the side a bit. Let that help the bent leg sacrum come forward. Stretch your leg. Can you take your arms up? Can you come forward, catch a strap to your foot, or catch your foot, reach out. Watch that sacrum strap is working equally on both sides. And your straight leg absolutely stretches into that strap. The arms are releasing away from the spine and skull out to the arm, and your spine stretches up. Groins in, front spine up. Sacrum supported by the strap. Make sure this little juncture between the shoulders and the head is really opening properly. Don't fold up or reverse the action. Now we're going to come up, so stretch that straight leg from the back of the sacrum band. Roll that buttock down to lift your spine up. Then you can help your straight leg out. Sit in Dandasana. And arrange yourself and arrange your mind so the interior actions are correct. And then bend that left knee, adjusting your support, bringing the heel to the inner thigh of the right leg or the left. It's your hip. Now you do what you do with this leg in terms of what this pelvis is doing. What the sacrum, pelvis, root of the spine is doing. So take support with the arms, take support with the leg, stretch that leg, straight leg, descend the buttock of the bent leg. The mind is extending toward the foot. Keep control of the sacrum. If there is a problem, some people have a problem. They can't control this action. The mind belt, mind strap won't stay. Then don't proceed. You just work there. This is what props are for. That rolled blanket in the hip, that actually keeps the inner body receding where it won't recede, right? We have props, taking a blanket under the hips. Okay, this is a prop. Blankets are a prop. You can go back to the strap. You can also leave one hand on the floor and only lift the other arm. Or you could take both arms. This is you adapt. Back sacrum support, inner body receding, coming up. You go to your foot. You continue these actions, arms and legs, away from the spine and skull. And that core of the body, the trunk, is elongating from the root up through the base of the skull. Brain rests. Inner body opened, lengthening. I'm not sure how far forward you went in your previous side, but do as much as you did on the prior side. And then come up. Keep the leg acting. Keep the arms acting. And stretch your legs. Now we're going to do Triyang Mukekpada Paschimottanasana. So you need a support that is wide enough for your buttock bones. That's pretty much all you need. It should be a little wider. So let's say hip width, and it depends on your blankets. You might fold them in half like this and take 1 or 2 or 3, and you can go so far as to take a bolster if you need more height. Take the height, you know, that lets you follow these rules. I'm looking to make it easy on the low back and spine to have space. Okay, so Triyang Mukekpada. From this Dandasana, from this imaginary strap Dandasana. And those blankets are turned so they're kind of narrow sides, running with the hips. Don't turn the blanket wide. That's too wide. Keep the narrow side. This is what I'm saying. Sit hip width. Then bend up the right knee just for a second. See what that pelvis does. Don't force. Don't shove that sacrum back into an upright position. No shoving. Stretch the straight leg. Lengthen. The spine has got a curve now down here. Lengthen it. So by pulling with your hand, there's a measure of support you're giving to the back, sacrum. Let it take that support, and you receive this front spine and lift it up. Don't shove from the back. Take any support you can and recede and lengthen the front. Now, when you fold that foot to Virasana and you adjust your stance to be as level as possible in the hips, I shifted a bit toward this Virasana leg because it helps me settle the sacroiliac, that's sacrum plus the ilium next to it, level. Now roll the straight leg thigh, inner thigh down, just to increase the levelness of the pelvis. Everybody is probably a bit crooked. This is great. It's an opportunity. Okay. Now strap, belt on. That imaginary belt is going from the back pelvis, and you are stretching that straight leg. And that push out into the strap through the straight leg is communicating itself to the bent leg buttock, just like before. So take that support, recede both groins toward the spine. This groin, Virasana groin, is lifted. Virasana hip is lifted. So you can use your hand and help take the thigh down, or you can talk to the belt with your thumb and fingers, talk to the belt place. You can communicate here, give some feedback. Your main feedback is to give stability to the root of the spine. Then it can stretch up. Then you can start coming forward. Don't pinch off the inner groins. Keep that abdomen receding, lengthening, and the back sacrum support. Now, can you catch your foot? Stretch the straight leg. Connect it to the sacrum band. Recede the groins. Lengthen up through the spine. These arms do not hunch toward the skull. They stretch away from the skull and out. And you go forward any amount. There is no instruction here about how far you should go forward. All the instruction has to do with how. Even as you inhale to come up, you've got to stretch from your skull outward toward that straight leg, down and out, away from the skull. Oops, sorry. Help your bent leg out. Sit straight for a moment. Excuse me. And change sides. Go through that moment with an upright bent knee. So you feel those two sides of the pelvis, they're actually sort of, with these legs straight, they're like this. And when you bend the knee, that side of the pelvis starts tilting, starts reaching back, and the other side starts trying to stay upright. So you can feel those forces at work here and see if by stretching the straight leg and giving this arm as support to this bent leg back to the hip, maybe you can get that belt support. Recede the groins, come up through the spine, and reach the arms away from the skull. Then fold your foot back, hold the ankle, fold the foot back to Virasana, and adjust your stance to be as level, legs parallel. Don't let that knee go wide. Keep the straight leg, inner buttock bone grounded. Notice your asymmetries. Help on the lifted side where the leg and buttock can't get away, can't create that spinal length. Now, I talked about the straight leg extending powerfully to the foot. The bent leg does a similar thing. So that buttock descends, that thigh extends, that foot stretches backward. But that backward stretching foot, forward stretching foot, they look like they're doing opposite things, but they're both coming away from the skull. The same thing. Groins in, spine up. Maybe the arms go up. Maybe just one arm goes up. Watch you take your procedure. Usually in this pose, it's a two-arm pose. Janu Shirshasana is frequently just one arm. So you come forward, stretch both legs, keep that sacrum band even and supported. So when you pull with those arms, and stretch with the legs, it gives the sacrum support, and it helps you release the arms too, lengthen the spine, and you come forward as far as your body brings you. Sacral band, circulation, Stretch your legs, both of them. Ground the buttocks to inhale, come up. Now, stretch both legs. And it's 5:05. We have 10 minutes to straighten things out. So, first things first, I would suggest you get a blanket that fits the width of your shoulders, right? So it can be any kind of width so long as your shoulders don't fall off it. Excuse me. So you pile up your blankets. These are shoulder supports. Mine have lumps in them. Got to get the lumps out. Okay. So you're going to do this as a series of Chatushpadasanas. Look, the first one takes just my sacrum into the teeniest back bend, going off the edge of 2 blankets. And I see if the coast is clear. Then I adjust and make sure that my shoulders are where they need to be at the other end of things. And I catch the ankles if possible. And if not, you get pretty close, or you take a strap around those ankles. And you stretch the arms and legs away from the skull. That's basically your sense of direction. Now the legs go first, the arms get underneath you and they go second. They roll down, they go to the ground, and then they reach away from the skull. And away from the footward direction of the arms and legs, that spine is lengthening toward the chest. So you do this, you come down, you rest, you do it again, you come down, you rest. Anybody have low back pain when doing this? Wave an arm around if there is low back pain. Yes. So no lift at all for you. If you are you content as you are with the buttocks on the floor that way? Is that painful? Chaya, they're comfy. Is it okay? Good. So let that back bend be there. Enjoy it. And stretch your arms overhead and stretch your legs the other way. Yes. Yes. Now I hope that feels good, Chaya. Good on the spine, helpful. Take all of that, if it helps you create space there in that low back, do it. Watch the connectivity of the breath. Now, Pratima, if your feet don't raise your head while you're in the pose, don't raise the head. Let it back down. Now, see if you can move your feet closer to your hips and put that strap around your ankles, not under the heels. Putting it around the ankles will make it so that you could even raise your heels off the floor. Oh, look at you, Chaya. Is this no pain? What? What is happening, Chaya? You're doing the pose. Okay, press the arms down. Stretch those elbows, Pratima. Stretch the arms straight, shoulders down, wrist down, reach the arm. Okay, come out. Now, you can raise your hips and put a brick under the hips. I know Chaya might not like this, so you don't have to if it brings grip to the sacrum. You can work with, and I remember you, Chaya, you can work with a, excuse me, child, can work with a bolster, excuse me, and a chair. Maybe, Chaya, this will work for you. Take the pressure off the low back and still let you keep that chest open. Might not work, but it might. Get your hips, Chaya, much closer. Yes, much closer to the chair. So your chest has to coil off those blankets. Pratima, are you trying a similar thing? No, okay. I'm not asking you to try a different thing, but if you were trying, do you have back pain? Then you should do this pose with a brick under the hips. So no bolster, those blankets as you had them, and a brick under the hips. So you see, to get it under that sacrum, I lifted the blankets up a little bit because my blankets were in the way of the brick. So if that is the case with you, you might pick up those bricks. Now, that brick can be crosswise or longwise to the spine. And some of you have straightened the legs, which is lovely if that sacroiliac and the groins permit it. And the rest of the spine lengthens, right? This is the leg stretching away from the skull. Don't just think your legs are attached at the groins. So there is a continuous extension. Likewise for the arms, from the skull out. Now it's 1 minute to the formal end of class. So you may come out or you may stay as you are. Chaya, was that reasonable or borderline? It was good. All right, good. Because, you know, sometimes it's just a case where you should not do back bends for a while until the thing that is problematic quiets down. So I see you in back bends have trouble a lot, and it may be that you keep space there for a bit. Now, everyone lies flat. So here in this Shavasana, this very quiet pose, the arms and legs are soft enough, relaxed enough, inert enough, that mainly what you feel is that cord, that trunk. I hope, in fact, you don't feel the spine itself as any kind of discomfort. But you, I hope, feel the continuity, connectivity, and continuous connectivity through the nerves, through the breath, all through the trunk. And that's direct sensation. And indirectly out to the arms and legs, hands, feet. So you can stay in Shavasana. You can come out, your choice. I will sit here, palms joined. Namaskar. I bow to you. See you next time.